D-Lo 4 Boxing. Shout out to the LGBC. Hey, I'm real quick. I want to talk about Anthony Joshua and this Andy Ruiz rematch. First of all, the reports out there about the rematch supposed to take place in Saudi Arabia, and Ruiz's team has yet to come out and confirm that. No one from the PBC whatsoever has. So until that happens, I'm gonna kind of keep quiet on the issue, other than to say I'm gonna be reserved until I get confirmation. I put it like that. But as far as a rematch, very hopeful, like everyone else, that the rematch will go forward. As of whether the venue is gonna be, we'll see. As far as everything AJ's been saying, I've already dropped a video talking about how I felt about his false bravado and such. But what I will say, and what I want to touch on in this video is, when it comes to rematches, there's two ways I look at it, okay? The first being that the guy who lost the rematch doesn't have as much to lose. Lost the original fight, I'm sorry, not lost the rematch. Who lost the first fight doesn't have as much to lose in the rematch. He's already lost to the fighter. He is trying to overcome that. He knows what he did wrong. He knows what he needs to work on. He knows what he has to do better in the second fight. So I kind of feel like the pressure is more so on the other guy. That's one way of thinking, okay? But it's different per fight, So, and what I'll say about, well, let me go ahead on to the second reason. Second thought process is that the guy who won the first fight doesn't have pressure on him because he's already won the first fight. He knows he can beat the guy, go out and do what he knows he can do, take care of business, win the rematch, turn the page, move on to bigger and better things. Okay? Well, with the first train of thought, the issue there is that some fighters don't realize why they actually lost the first fight. Okay? And I think Anthony Joshua is one of those fighters who doesn't realize that he just wasn't the better man in that fight. And there are reasons that he wasn't the better man. There are things that he didn't do as well as Andy Ruiz did. And there are things that he did that was very predictable to Andy Ruiz, for Andy Ruiz. And Andy Ruiz was able to capitalize on because AJ stayed true to script. So it was easy for Andy Ruiz to figure out what he needed to do to overcome that and fight his way to victory, okay? So with AJ not realizing that and he thinking that he just had a bad night, or now he's coming out with a laundry list of excuses about not being in the fight mentally because he didn't want to be fighting Ruiz and so forth and so on, which I don't buy that because he handpicked the guy. He didn't have to fight Andy Ruiz. He thought Andy Ruiz was a guy who looked credible enough on paper, but would be an easy enough out and a guy that he could go out and look spectacular against, getting a good win to usher in his era of fights in the United States. And it didn't play out that way, okay? When it comes to the second train of thought, where I said the guy who won the fight doesn't have anything as much pressure because he's already won the fight. And let me go back on the first thing too. I think AJ does have immense pressure on him to win this fight. He's not in a situation where he doesn't have anything to lose because he is supposed to be this major star in boxing, and 2 consecutive losses, especially 2 bad losses, hurts his marketability greatly, and it also hurts his potential. Basically, his momentum in the sport. It kills anticipation for other fights that right now are still salvageable. But if he goes out and loses ugly to Andy Ruiz again, those fights are not salvageable. salvageable. So that's more pressure on AJ and his whole team. All right, as far as Ruiz, I just feel like he was in a situation where he wasn't even supposed to be there in the first place. He wasn't even supposed to be the opponent. Okay, so then when he got the opportunity as an opponent, he took advantage of it, and he gave it his absolute best. And he went out there and shocked the world, became victorious, became the champion. And from that point on, I've already done what I was expecting not to do. So going forward, it's almost as if in Andrew Ruiz's situation, he's playing with house money. So he kind of defies the typical train of thought with that second logic I mentioned. So any way I slice it up and I look at it, I think Andrew Ruiz is in a great position. I think the pressure, once again, is all on Anthony Joshua. And there was a ton of pressure that he put on himself coming into that first fight because Deontay Wilder went out and looked spectacular against a guy who he himself had already beaten, but years ago, and who had pretty much put together a string of knockouts since he lost to AJ. So that fight being 2 weeks before their fight put a good bit of pressure on AJ. And then also the fact that AJ himself was supposed to be fighting on April 13th in Wembley, and that fight just went down the toilet, and it all of a sudden became, okay, well, let's do this American takeover. And it didn't work out that way. So as far as this whole venue thing, I'm gonna reserve my opinions on all of that nonsense because it yet remains to be seen what's gonna happen. But as far as the rematch itself, I'm 100% looking forward to it, and I'm hoping nothing happens to derail the rematch. I feel like it can be a great fight. I will say that right now, I heavily favor Andrew Ruiz to go out and do the same thing again. D-Lo 404 Boxing. That's all I'm gonna say about it. I'm out. Peace.